Hello, welcome to Mr. and Mrs. B's Brain Dump. It's Mr. B with another glorious unboxing. I've bought this camera, which is a MagiCam SD22. It's got a similar box to a GoPro, but this only cost 125 quid, something like that, on a special deal. Anyway, it feels quite heavy. And the reason I bought this is so that I can do those action shots, you know, where I'll stick it to the side of the bike and give you some action shots, and if it falls off and gets squashed, oh well. So without any further ado, we'll get on and unbox it Mr. B style. Okay, so you saw the outside of the box in a previous clip, and now I'm just going to go through the contents of that box. And I have to say straight away that it's an impressive array of stuff. But let's start with the camera. You get the camera. That's how big it is, and if you want to use it as a comparison, there's a Sony AS15 in comparison in size. Weight wise, very similar, very similar. There's not a lot in it at all, weight wise. Pretty much the same.
I've got scales down there if you want to do an actual...
I'm going to weigh them. I'm going to weigh them right now. Alright, so there's some weight to it, yeah. But it's a similar comparison to the Sony AS15. So there's the camera. With the camera you get a backup battery. And we'll go into this in a moment, but it's basically you get a second battery. Okay, which I just think is brilliant. On top of that, you get an LCD screen. And I'll show you how that works with the camera. Okay, but there's an LCD screen there which acts as your viewfinder and so on. A remote control, so that you control start, stop and change mode from camera or to video. A manual, clearly. Some stickers for writing on. Waterproof housing with two different backs, and I'll go into why there are two different backs for this camera. But you get two different backs for that camera. An AV lead, matching Velcro for using on one of your mounts. We'll go into the mounts in a second. Anti-fog strips, and there are 6 of those. Okay. All this comes with the original purchase. There's no additional extras that I've purchased. A head mount.
Put it on, put it on.
I'm not putting it on.
Put it on.
Oh, look at me, I'm surfing, yeah. Woo, check me out. Anyway, there's a head mount, yeah, which is good. I've got other uses for that as well. What else do we get? Get a naked holder as well. Bottom of the camera's got a thread. Screw it in, you know. And there's room there to add your either your expansion battery, backup battery, or your viewfinder stroke LCD screen if you want to do that stuff. Curved mount point, flat mount point, and you also get another mount point as well. So that's one helmet, stroke head, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mount points. Various accessories for mounting. This is kind of a generic naked mounting point thing going on. Okay, there's another one there of those as well, and yet another
with a lanyard.
With lanyards, a locking rubber, and if you had one, you know what I was on about. Basically, when you clip it in to one of your mounting points, the way it works is that you wrap that round there, and whichever mount you put in, when you push that down inside, it locks it so you can't accidentally come undone. So it's like a safety lock. Lanyards, some spare grommets, so when your grommets wear down on any of your mounting points, you can exchange those. And there's 2 spare of those. And this was kind of amazing. Lens caps. Lens cap for the camera with lanyard, and lens cap for the housing with lanyard, and ultimately and finally a bag to put it all in. The other mount point I haven't mentioned, I've just got here in my base of my tank bag, because I've got a tank cam, and this is the lid of the presentation box in my tank bag, and screwed down with the other mount point that comes with it. Really? Why?
Because it's like the generation game.
And a cuddly toy! How big was that? Hang on, shall I try that? What you don't get... The only thing missing is a cuddly toy. Brilliant. Right, you don't get that. Okay, so that's what you get with your camera. So that's the accessories and all of the things that come in one box, in one purchase. Nothing additional I have purchased. That was everything that came in the box. This action camera kit, I'm going to call it a kit because it is, it's kind of got everything that you need really, was £124 and a few pence from
99 pence, Mighty Deals.
£125 then from Mighty Deals. So let's just get now into the crux of how things fit together and what you get in terms of functionality. I'm not going to talk about the accessories now. You've seen the accessories. Let's talk about the camera. So the camera is a comparable weight to a GoPro or an Sony AS15. This is a square format. It looks like it's been based or similar to a GoPro type camera. We have menu options at the top of the camera. We've got an on-off switch, okay, a record, and a camera mode, and a stop button at the top of the camera, which goes hand in hand with the housing. As you can see, you can operate the camera with the same buttons when inside the waterproof housing, which is good for 100 meters apparently, but you can use these buttons to operate those very same features. Inside the camera you get a battery. I'm not going to take it out again. Battery and your cover. Okay, no SD card. I foolishly at one point thought that all cameras come with an SD card, but they don't, and this one's exactly the same. No SD card, and it takes a class 10 high-speed SD card up to 64 gigabytes. So with the battery in place, you'll see that we've got these additional components that come with it. There's an expansion battery. Now the expansion battery basically is another battery that you can plug into the camera, and it basically mounts like Lego. You just click it together, and there I have now mounted my expansion battery.
How much longer does that battery give you?
If you add the expansion battery, according to the manual, you will get 4 hours of full HD 60 frames per second battery time.
1080p.
1080p, yeah. 60 frames per second, which I suppose, as we all know, depending on the temperature, it could be between 3 and 4 hours, I suppose. I don't know. But anyway, that's damn good as far as I'm concerned, and I've not had to purchase that battery. It comes with a kit. So you get that battery. If I remove that battery, we have a video LCD screen, and you can insert that in exactly the same way. Plug and play, essentially. And if I switch the camera on, you'll see that the video display is now working, and if I wiggle it around, you'll see that it's doing stuff. Now there's a menu option that you can get from here, and also you can do things like zoom in and zoom out. It's digital zoom up to 10 times, so no optical obviously, because that would be awesome, especially for the price. But is that zooming in now? Can you see that zooming in?
Yep. Ah, make it stop!
And that should now zoom out.
That's better.
Okay. So you've got your zoom controls there, and obviously that gives you your viewfinder for doing your recording and stuff like that. And you can also review what you've recorded on this as well. Okay, so you've got playback facility through that screen. And that's that really, which I think is great. So there's no need for Wi-Fi, obviously with the viewfinder, and this camera does not come with Wi-Fi. and why would you when you've got a screen? Additionally to that, and mention of Wi-Fi, to start and stop the camera when it's inside the housing, or you want to change mode from camera to photo, you come with a handy remote control, which does exactly what you would expect: starts, stops, changes mode, and takes pictures. Talking of taking pictures, the camera has the facility to take intermittent pictures, as all cameras do, but this one's got a very good range. It starts at every 0.5 of a second, then 1 second, then 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you get the idea. So there's a full range there if you want to do that stop motion stuff, like watching the clouds and all that. It'll do that brilliant. So you're probably wondering what the video quality is like. Well, like I say, it does 1080 60 frames per second max, and then there's a whole range of stuff below that. Obviously the common frame rate will be 30 frames per second at 1080, and this also does that. Here's some video from my tank bag cam, which I use this for, to show you the daylight capabilities, and as you can see, it's a very clear picture, 170 degree angle, so you do get that goldfish bowl effect, or fish eye effect, more so, and similar to the GoPro in that respect. Low light capabilities, I'll just show you now compared to the Sony AS15, which in my experience has had awesome low light capabilities. You'll see that the AS15, you can see things like the umbrella and things out in the back garden, as opposed to the this camera, which shows nothing. But you know, hey, it's £120, £125. So that's the difference, night and day, quite clearly, or day and night. Daytime camera, brilliant. The menu is extremely easy to use on the camera. If you don't drop the LCD unit, just quickly reattach that. Cut where necessary and switch it back on. Okay, so try and show here, the menu is very simple to operate.
I don't need to do that, I can just zoom.
Yeah, you can. Menu buttons at the top, and just scroll down through the menu. Got directional buttons to go to different areas. Very, very easy to use. So if we take a look at the screen on top, you'll see there's some various pieces of information on there. There's the battery status, there's the memory card status in terms of little bars, standard really, whether it's on or off, and also a countdown or count up in time in terms of recording. Has that covered everything that you can see on the screen? Okay. So that's what the screen at the top. Now it does have a laser so that you can point the camera. It's currently switched on at the moment while it's recording, just to prove that. Shine it on my face.
Not in your eyes and much.
I'm not shining it in my eyes. As you can see, there's a laser on the camera, so when you've mounted it to your helmet or whatever, and you want to ensure that it is pointing in the right direction, you've got the laser finder there that will allow you to do that. Okay, so that's that. Stop. So on top of the camera, the functions you have is on off switch, record, change mode from video to camera, and stop on top of the camera, which goes hand in hand with exactly the same buttons on the housing, so that you can operate the camera whilst it's in the housing. In terms of ports, audio in, AV out, and the SD card. So audio in for an external mic. So now in terms of ports on the camera, you have the audio in external mic, you have the SD card slot, and also the AV out, which is usually your AV lead that comes with the camera. to display on a normal TV. On the other side, sorry, just to mention, the SD card is up to 64 gig, and that is the Class 10 fast SD card. On the other side, we have the charge point for charging the camera, which is not your standard now mini USB. It's the kind of the PlayStation controller type. I'm not going to go any further into the geeky details. You can get the manual online to see the specifications. My summary of this product is the manual is okay. The English is bad, but in terms of giving you the information that you need to use the camera, it does its job. The camera itself, I think it's great that you can plug and play. You can remove the screen, because once you've lined up your shot in your camera and your housing, remove the screen, plug in your backup battery, add 32 or 64 gig memory card, and you've got shooting capability of up to 4 hours at maximum resolution. So you have your mini USB and your HDMI mini out as well on the other side of the camera. Both of those are protected by this rubber seal. In terms of indication lights, if I start the camera and it's now recording, you'll know it's recording because you'll get a green flashing light. So you get a flashing light at the front of the camera, and on top of the camera you also get the
laser pointer's on, darling.
And a laser pointer is still on. That's fine. You can switch that off through the menu. It's dead easy. And there is also the feature to be able to switch it on for a small amount of time, and then it will automatically go off, which allows you to adjust and then film. The red light indicator there just indicates the fact that the camera is switched on. Okay. And there you can see again the viewfinder is now active, and it's using the internal battery supply. Stop that. So here's the external battery supply, the backup battery supply as they call it. I'll call it a booster, I don't know. But basically the charging point is the same. It's a mini USB. And there's also indicator is there as well. So if you want to know the status of the battery, you press the button, and you've got 3 levels of indication of the state of the battery. And currently it's on green. Blue is the average sort of power level, and red is getting low. And that is that for the external additional battery supply, which gives you a total of up to 4 hours, which I think surpasses any other action camera that I know of in terms of out of the box longevity. Also, the camera functions within the menu. One of the things that I found was that the manual mentions a black box recorder, which is designed for the use within cars or anything really, and basically any motion of the camera causes it to start to record, and therefore in a car, if you start to move the car, it will start recording automatically. But in terms of functionality of the camera, I'm not going to go into geek detail in terms of functionality. For me, it records in daylight very well. But there are some features within that. There's various resolutions up to 1080p at 60 frames per second, and then go down from there basically. I'm not going to go into the details of that because you can see that online. I'll put a link to the manual so you can understand what other features are available. The other thing to note though, in the manual it mentions a black box recorder status or option in the menu. So basically if you're in a car and you start moving, it will automatically record. and if you stop the car and park the car or anything, or if you just leave the camera alone, it will stop recording after 3 minutes. Move it, it will start recording again automatically. That menu option is actually called the G sensor within the camera functions, as I found, and that's what you need to turn on or off for that facility. When you've got it switched off, you can quite easily start and stop the camera using the remote, and I think that's brilliant. And obviously with the viewfinder LCD screen, it removes the requirement for any Wi-Fi. Other features within the camera, there's a whole host, but at the end of the day, for me personally, all I want it to do is record what I'm recording, and it does that. It has a low lux option, and as you saw in the footage earlier, it doesn't stand up against what I think is probably the most superior low lux capability. And what I mean by low lux is in low light or in the dark. The Sony AS15 has got awesome low light capability straight out of the box. It is unparalleled in the price bracket. I think the Sony comes in at around £200.
165 on Amazon.
165 on Amazon. We're talking sub 200 US. We're talking sub 200 UK sterling pounds. These are the cameras that we're talking about here. This one is 125.
If you get it on Mighty Deals.
If you get it on Mighty Deals. So for money, it's an absolute bargain. But in terms of low light capability, the Sony by far, I think, for the price range, has got the best low light capabilities of any camera out there right now. The GoPro, if you want a similar low light capability, you have to buy the one that's like £500. The standard GoPros, the ones that aren't £500, the ones that are in the same price range, well, they're not actually, they start at like £250, I think. The low light on those is nowhere near the Sony. And likewise, this £125 camera, if you can get it on a good deal, the low light isn't comparable either, and therefore this is a daylight camera. So in terms of the housing, as standard, it comes with this thinner version housing, which allows you to put the camera and its standard internal battery into the housing, and it's just standard waterproof housing up to 100 meters apparently, and you're good to go, and you can operate the camera using all the functions that you could if the camera was naked within the housing, which is great. Now it does come with an additional rear door. The reason for that being is that if you want to be able to use the video LCD screen, the viewer, or the external extra battery supply, which gives you up to 4 hours recording, you just simply remove that backing, add the other backing that comes within the camera, the rear door, take the camera out, and for example, if you want to use the viewfinder, I really don't think you use it that often really, it's more of a case of setting it up and getting it ready to go. But you can then place that into the camera, shut the larger rear door, press your top button, and now you will see, has it now started recording yet?
It has.
No, it will, actually. Yeah. Because there's probably a laser dot going on somewhere as well.
There is.
Okay, so and that's what you see. I won't shine the laser into the camera because I'll probably break it, but you see there's a green flashing light, which means it's recording, and also the laser finder.
Thanks, babe.
Right on your forehead.
I love you.
We do. So there we go. So that's if you're going to use the viewfinder. Let's stop that. Using the stop button would be handy. So that's with the video screen attached. We switch the camera off. So taking the camera out of the housing again, remove the LCD screen, and add the additional battery power supply.
Go on, Mr. B. Go on, Mr. B. Grr, man, straight.
So now we've got 4 hours worth of battery supply, which will a 32 gigabyte card, and that battery will give you 4 hours recording at maximum resolution. We're good to go in the housing. Now we need to talk about my personal opinion of the downside of the camera, or the negatives, or the not so great points about this camera, is that the waterproof housing only has the option to attach to these mounts that come with the camera. What it doesn't have is the option to mount to a standard camera mount screw. There is no option for that, which is a shame, because that was one of the options that I wanted to try and use with this camera. Now the Sony, which is my only other experience of an action cam, does come with that, and if you're clever like me,
hold it up so I can see. It does.
So the Sony action cam does come with a standard camera mount point, a female mount point, and if you check my other video you'll see that I actually added a side mount to it as well. But that's the Sony, and that's what this review is not about. That this housing only comes with the option to use the standard mount points that come with the camera, and there is no standard screw asphyxiation. So the only final point really to mention, and every single action camera has been the same, is that the external mount point is useless if you want to try and waterproof your camera. And so the only way that you could use this camera and keep it waterproof is by drilling a hole in the housing. So unfortunately the only thing that I can say there is that all action cameras still are not listening to us moto vloggers and giving us the facility to waterproof an external mic. But hey, hopefully maybe next year they will. So in summary of this camera, in terms of value for money, it gets 5 out of 5. In terms of ease of use, 5 out of 5. Accessories,
6 out of 5.
Accessories, 5 out of 5. Video capabilities, in daylight, I can't fault it. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Low light and shooting in darker conditions, not so good. So in terms of video capabilities, even though it does do 1080p at 60 frames per second, which is great in the daytime, at night time, don't bother. So I'm going to give that 4 out of 5. Okay, so to summarise this camera, overall, all the features, functionality, value for money, I am going to give this camera a 4.2. A 4.2. The only camera that's ever going to get a 5 is the one that accommodates for us motovloggers properly and give us the option for side mounts and external mic waterproofing and all the other features that you would expect from a camera. I'm going to be using this camera as an external view cam from various points on my bike. I'm not going to use it as a helmet cam, purely for the reason of the fact that I can't mount it in the way that I would like to. streamline on the helmet, I'll be using the Sony. The GoPro style, including this style, the only place you can mount this sensibly, as far as I'm concerned, because on the side it's, whoa, you'd be twisting your neck off, is on top, not a Teletubby. So this will be used as an external camera that I will use to face me, the helmet, the visor, and various points around the bike. And value for money, absolutely out of this world. And if you haven't got one, I suggest you get one soon, while you can get them so cheap. And that's the end of Mr. and Mrs. B's brain dump review of the AEE MagiCam SD22.
It's so good, even Mrs. B's giving it a thumbs up.
That good. And I hope you enjoyed that really unprofessional, non-geeky version of a review of a technical thing. Okay, I like it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, dislike, comment. It's all good. Love you all. Bye.